That's what greeted me this morning. So about 2 a.m. last night, the wee hours of the morning, it started to snow. And we're currently under a nice big plume of lake effect snow coming in off of Lake Michigan. And there's a snow shovel in that garage, and it's about noon. It's still snowing. I am waiting for it to abate before I go out and clear snow. I don't mind shoveling. We have a snowblower. I generally shovel. It's good exercise. And the nice thing about lake effect snow, it's dry powder, so it's fluffy and light. Not a big deal. Here's a radar image from this morning. Just you see it covering my area. And Beth is flying back from a company meeting today, actually tonight, coming into O'Hare. Hopefully things clear up by then. They're supposed to. So anyway, welcome back. The funny thing is that view out, that's the view out my kitchen window. And I'm generally up somewhere between 5 and 6 a.m., depending. And I go down, start coffee, sit down, pull out my iPad, catch up on news. And I'm right by the kitchen window, and occasionally I look out. And right at this time of year, obviously, it's dark. And the sun starts coming up and things start lightening up. And I'll look out the kitchen window and I'll see something interesting, interesting bird or something going on. And inevitably, I have my camera upstairs. And so if I run and get my camera, by the time I get back, whatever it is gone or ended. The other morning, I was up, and it was a really cold morning. It was -5 Fahrenheit. That's like -20 and a half, -20.5 or so. So we have a pair of resident cardinals. There's a few more, but there's one pair that use our backyard as part of their territory. And I look out and see both the male and the female, and it's still not that bright out. So I'm thinking, and then it dawns on me, it dawns on me, I shoot headshots, and I have Godox flashes. So in addition to the AD200 Pro that I use as my main light, I have a couple of TT 685 O's. So here's one of them. And I have an X2T transmitter. O, of course. The O stands for Olympus, but Olympus Panasonic flash system is the same. So I thought, why not use this? Now, the reason I am using the transmitter is I don't want to have the flash firing out the same window where I am, mainly because you might get eye shine coming back from any animals you're shooting. And actually you get a little bit better, nice quality of light if it's off to one side, right? This is why we use off-camera flash for doing portraits. So I got this thing set up, slaved it to my transmitter, set the flash head to 100 millimeters, because this has a zoom flash head. You can set it to either zoom with the lens, but I'm using the 100 to 300 millimeter lens. So set this thing at 300 to 100 millimeters, which is full frame equivalent, of course. It did kind of give a narrow beam, as it turns out, but I popped this onto a GorillaPod, an old GorillaPod SLR. So it'll hold an SLR. If it holds an SLR, it'll hold this. And I put this in the second window. And here's a picture to show you on the GorillaPod on the right-hand window. And then I sat in a chair on the left-hand window. Our kitchen table is right there. And I started experimenting. Couple things. I generally shoot manual mode. And if you shoot manual mode on the G9, you can't set the flash exposure compensation unless no way I could figure out to actually set the flash exposure compensation on the camera. Pressing the exposure compensation button behind the shutter button doesn't do anything. However, you can set exposure compensation on the transmitter. So that's the workaround. What I found was it was best to underexpose the ambient light about a stop and then just leave the flash where it was. But the other thing that was really interesting is when I'd take those shots, when looking at them in the viewfinder in the review, they looked fine. Bring them in the Lightroom, they were a little bit underexposed. So I had to fix that there. Not a big deal. And as you'll see in the slideshow, our yard's, it's not huge, but Setting this thing to 100 millimeters meant that if I wanted to shoot off to one side, I had to re-aim the flash. So I'd have to get up and go and re-aim the flash. By the way, I shot through the closed window. Minus 5 Fahrenheit, there is no way I'm opening that window. And luckily, I had cleaned the outside of the window just a few days before it got really cold. So here I'm going to show the results. Have a look. I'll do some descriptions through here, and I'll come back with a follow-up. So here's the setup. The right-hand window, I've got the Godox TT 685 on a GorillaPod, and then I sit in a chair next to that left-hand window and shoot out that window and fire the flash remotely. So here's our resident northern cardinal, and of course this was shot without flash. ISO 400 at 2/50th of a second and f7.1. So yeah, could have bumped the ISO up, but here we have now adding the flash, and you see there's a huge difference. Now, unfortunately, I put the seed behind a dead basil plant, which is growing in the planter that you see here, so that was a mistake. I've since removed that plant. Hey, interesting thing, the birds actually like the basil seeds. Here is his mate, our resident female northern cardinal. This is with flash. And the nice thing about it is you get a good catch light. If you look back at the non-flash picture, there's a little hint of a catch light from the sky, but not like what you get when you have a flash firing. Here is the male asserting himself to a house sparrow on our bird feeder. Cardinals are tough birds, and they don't take any guff from aggressive house sparrows. So generally what happens is if there's any kind of disagreement at the bird feeder, the cardinal wins and the sparrows get chased off, which leaves the male alone to dine in peace. And yeah, they're very tough birds. In fact, I found out what happens if you actually pick one up. This many years ago. It was very cold, and it was colder than it was this morning that you see here. And I had parked the car and come into our backyard and in the evening, and I looked over at the side of the garage, and huddled down in a little opening in the snow was a little ball of red, and I went over and looked, and it was a male cardinal. And I thought, wow, he doesn't look so good. So I picked him up, and I think I took my gloves off to do it. And holy cow, he chomped down on my finger, and yeah, they're tough. We took him in, and he actually did eat some seed. We put him in a little box, but there must have been something wrong with him, because unfortunately overnight he passed away. Here's our female again, eating seeds on another planter. Over to the left, along the edge of our yard, we have a Siberian elm hedge, and the birds really like that hedge. So when the male was over there, I had to re-aim the flash, but I was able to grab some photos of him in that hedge. See, I got kind of variable results. I think I will continue to try things with this setup, and maybe tweak the settings a little bit more so I can get more consistent results. But as you can see, it works fine. I mean, you can get pretty nice looking images. And when it warms up and I can open the window, it'll be even better. Although these are, for shooting through glass, really not bad. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. If you have any comments, any questions, any observations, leave them below. If you have subscribed, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm Todd Banner, and I will see you next time.